really believe, then it kind of breaks, which is very cynical. It's true in most cases. However, if you have a very moral Christian society with a lot of individuals who really believe, then it kind of breaks that model, and you get into behavioral economics, which is it's a relatively new part of economics. And I'm big into the behavioral side of economics because I believe behaviors, if you don't use variables of behavior associated with the people that you have under study in your economic study, you're going to have a lot of mistakes in your modeling. And I guess I'll use an example I made up in grad school for my MBA. The professor didn't seem too impressed with it, but I thought it was good. He said that they had a recession in Mexico, which caused a lot of immigration to the United States. People are poor, not making enough money. There's opportunity in the US. You have immigration. So you had a flood of Mexicans with this recession. 10 years later, they had another recession. USA braced for, oh, here comes a bunch of immigrants. Didn't happen. Why? The economic model was broken. Why was it broken? So I made up a variable called pioneering spirit. So if you assess individuals to have pioneering spirit and you have the spectrum of this guy wants to travel the world, he wants to go everywhere, he'll go off at any time. And this guy will go off if, hey, there's an opportunity. And this guy will go off if, somebody in his family got killed. And this guy will go off if anything but a flood happens. And then this guy he's not going to move at all. Even if a volcano erupts, he's going to say, I'm staying in my house. I'm not going to let a volcano or a tidal wave move me. I'm staying here. That spectrum of pioneering spirit. You have the first recession. Those with a certain level of pioneering spirit immigrated. 10 years later, you haven't replenished it with more people born who replenished that spectrum that was depleted 10 years earlier. So the people with pioneering spirit are gone. So you have the second recession 10 years later, nobody migrates. Why? Because it's still depleted. Your pioneering spirit of that population is still depleted. So behavioral economics, I believe, is much better because you're accounting for people's behavior and you're assigning a variable of pioneering spirit to people. And so I explained why that didn't happen. And the professor just looked at me like I had three heads. I'm like, don't you get it? So, yeah, I think I was right.
I mean, makes sense to me. But it kind of speaks to a country, too. If you remove those with pioneering spirit, or even like in our case, you remove those who question authority and, go against the grain, like then what are you left with? You're left with a bunch of people that aren't willing to, and that's kind of seems that's what they want.
Exactly. And that, I'm glad you said that because let's flip it around. Exactly what you said, but let's say you're from another country. If we take in all these people as refugees from a country that is dictatorial and tyrannical, and they're abusing the people. Oh, they're abusing the people. Let's bring those people here. What does that do to all the people left? They're tyrannized more. They have to work harder just to survive. You've made the populace that would otherwise rise up against the dictator, you've made them weaker by taking their best and bringing them here. Not their best as in, they're smartest people. I mean, their best fighters, the people who are like healthy and, I'm going to go to the United States. Like,
yeah.
If you left them there, the dictatorship would fall. It would be over. So by taking in these people, we're harming the countries that we're taking them from. The tyranny continues. And I believe, the CIA is involved in a lot of this stuff, to the negative.
Sorry to cut you off, but Dr. Jack Cruz is always talking about Central South America as like the new hub for the Brain Health Initiative and all that, like the modern day MK Ultra. So it makes sense why it's happening, where it's happening, in my opinion.
We've abused Central America since, before the Panama Canal. It was mostly the Panama Canal. We lost a lot of people. If you look at the number of people who died in that canal, wow. But I agree with them. If you want to talk economics, some people are going to be upset. My name is John Paul. I grew up Catholic. I am Catholic. I don't agree with the former Pope. I couldn't stand him. He's no Pope of mine. Bergoglio, I
Yeah.
think he went by Francis. He was the leader of a demonic pedophile Luciferian cult, but not to
Exactly.
be too opinionated. As far as economics goes, the United States was formed. We've got about the same natural resources and land as South America. So you have a bunch of Protestants come here. Why did they come here? Because they didn't want to be part of any centralized church, whether it's Anglican or Roman Catholic. They had their own little sect of Christianity that come here, and then we have Lutherans and Baptists and Methodists and Episcopalians. We got all this stuff. Individuality was valued. Property rights were valued. You didn't have a central place where you sent all your money to the Catholic Church. That whole thing about property rights, that's why we are what we are. If you invent something, you have the fruits of your invention. Even if somebody else wants to manufacture it, they license it from you, they'll pay you. So that caused people to want to invent things and make life better for everybody because they're getting compensated for it. The guy who came up with that little locking ratchet thing that Sears had, if your hands are greasy and slipping, you press this thing, and I forget how it worked. It was a ratchet, socket wrench ratchet thing. That guy made a couple $1 million on that. And I think it was $1 million, but back then it's probably worth like 20 or 50 million today. He made because he invented that stupid little thing. That's what causes people to want to spend the time to invent something and spend the energy and the research and development for companies because they want to own the patent for the next 10 years. The patents run out, right? So why am I saying this? Because the United States is by far biggest economic powerhouse in the world because of the way we were formed with the individualism, and patent and property rights. That's how we were formed. Contrast that to the same number of both human capital and natural resources in South America and Central, right? Very rich in natural resources, and a lot of people there, human capital. Why can't they get their crap together? Why can't they get their act together? They're all Catholic. Maybe not now, but for the last 150 years, they're 99% Catholic. They're from Spain and Portugal and Italy. They're all Catholic, which is collectivism. It's a centralized collectivist mentality. They talk about the lower class and workers, and they care so much. It prevented them from achieving. It prevented them from inventing. And even when they're given the opportunity to build a business, the government, they're like, yeah, well, that business is making too much money. My neighbor's making 3 times as much as I do because I'm working at the cattle ranch and he's working at. So tax him more than me and socialism. And then you've got the whole socialism versus capitalism. Capitalism is evil. Socialism is evil. Yeah, they're both evil. They're both evil in their purest forms, and people don't talk about the truth. What is the truth? We all live in mixed economies. China's not purely communist socialist, and we're not purely capitalist. Our entire medical system was just taken over in the last 15 years. And by doing so, they just murdered 1 million people. So you got your Obamacare, you got your centralized healthcare. Mass General Brigham, 3/4 of their revenue comes from government. If the government says, we're not going to pay you this quarter, they're out of business. So the government has complete control over the healthcare of Massachusetts and every state, really, because they just threaten Medicare and Medicaid. They own so much of the cash stream flow that if they create a disruption by not paying for a quarter, everything goes to shit. The entire system collapses. So you have a complete takeover of our healthcare system with this fake, there's an insurance, I'm in this plan and that plan. Everything is subsidized. It's all BS. The government took it over. The government killed 1 million people. The government coerced doctors, the government solicited administrators of hospitals, and they coerced doctors to do what they wanted to do, and they did it. And they did it knowingly, some of them, like we just talked about. Some of them knowingly killed people. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty damn bad out there. And that's the difference between South America and North America in terms of, it's not just economics, but it's culture and sociology and psychology of individuals. It all plays together And you can't just be an economist. You can't just be a psychologist. You can't just be a sociologist. You can't just be a medical doctor. You have to understand how these interconnected purviews or professions or expertises, how they all interplay. I look at, the full system. I call it whole
Mhm.
systems theory. The whole system, the mind of the individual, the mind of the group, the mind of society, in concert with the economics, and not just economics money. People think money whenever you say economics. I'm talking about economic systems theory, especially where any inputs into the system, how does it affect the outputs? How do you get to Pareto efficiency, where any input to the system will only make it worse? If you're at a Pareto efficiency, any change in an input can only make it worse. You've already achieved Pareto efficiency. For what though? They achieved Pareto efficiency for the finances of healthcare, not for the health of the people. Those are
Mhm.
two different things you're tuning for. If you tune for finances, you're killing a lot of people. And if you save everybody, your finances are through the roof. So they're in tension with each other.
That's great. I mean, it's it's relevant. I mean, the medical system ties into all of this. It is effectively broken, and it allowed for this to happen. So it's like, where do we go from here? How do we fix this? I'm not sure. It's for people a lot smarter than me.
Decentralize everything. That's how you
That's
fix it. That's the only way.
it's the only way out, and it's you grow up in just like going to school. You idealize the U.S., the government, checks and balances. It's all you. You're supposed to have trust in the people above you, and then something like this happens, and all of a sudden you realize all the people checking all the balances of other people are full of shit, and they're all the same thing. Yeah, system is deeply flawed.
People in DC you'd think are smart, especially these PhDs that everybody wants a microphone in front of their face. They all want
Hmm.
to be on TV, and most of them don't get it. They don't
No,
get the whole system. It's
that's it's
they're called negative externalities. But when you change a variable or you make a law, we're going to do this. You just created negative externalities you're not thinking about. Oh, I didn't think of that.
mhm,
Unintended consequences. That's more people understand that term. You have unintended consequences of laws because they didn't simulate out the laws because they don't know how to simulate. In engineering, we simulate based on all these various inputs. What's going to happen in the outputs when you put in all these inputs? And it's like if you get a non-expected output from these inputs, you got to change your circuitry because you don't want unintended outputs. The circuit should do what it was designed to do. If it does something different or opposite from your intention, you got to change your circuitry. You got to change your law. Actually, I didn't talk about law, and I'm probably gonna have to go soon, but
and we can do another one, and I'd love to break down the law aspect.
I can get into law pretty deep. I'm going to
Yeah.
the. I have to write a petition for writ of certiorari. People say certiorari. The Supreme Court of the United States. I was finally. I have a 3-year-old case. It was dismissed at U.S. District Court, and then it was affirmed. The dismissal was affirmed by the First Circuit Court of Appeals, and now I go to the Supreme Court. There's a 1 in 1,000 chance they'll take my case to even hear it, but it's the biggest problem facing the United States. It's the demise of our republic is due to this issue of standing doctrine,
Hmm.
and I'm taking it on like nobody has ever taken it on before. I did a management systems analysis of the U.S. district courts. I don't think anybody's ever done that, and I show very starkly that in the year of 2020 there was a 62% increase in cases. For 25 years before that, the biggest increase was 5.7%, and the biggest decrease was 6.3%. So your range is plus 5.7 to minus 6.3. And then in 2020, it was 62.2, 10 times greater than any other, 10 times greater than any other in the past 25 years. Did they hire 62% more people to handle those cases? No. Did they work 62% more hours every single day for a year? No. What'd they do? They dismissed the cases. They violated people's constitutional rights to have their cases heard so they could get rid of them. That's the only plausible explanation. And I know how they did it because if you look at the case citation rates, Roe v. Wade, Buck v. Bell, Marbury versus Madison, Miranda versus Arizona. Everybody's heard of Miranda rights.
Mhm.
The most famous cases in the history of the United States with the greatest number of citations, cases in 2007 and 2009. Bell Atlantic versus Twombly and Ashcroft versus Iqbal. 10 to 30 times the citation rates more than any other seminal case in the history of the United States. When you look at it on a graph, imagine looking at a 1, a 1.2, a 1.3, a -1, a 1, a 2, a 1, 1, 1, 2, and then 15. That's what this graph looks like. Those cases are only used to dismiss cases on standing doctrine. So I prove they had an overwhelming workload. The only way of which they could get rid of it is to dismiss cases. And the cases that are used to dismiss cases are far above anything in the history of the United States. And in that analysis, I prove that they're booting people out of court unrighteously. And if we can't have our cases heard, if you can't solve disputes in court, you'll solve them in the street as we degrade into an incivility, an uncivil society. When you bring 60 cases about the elections in 2020, not a single one of them is heard, and they're all dismissed on standing. And everybody didn't have standing. Oh, I didn't have standing. And the people don't realize that standing stole your constitutional rights, and you did not adjudicate the matter. You did not fix the elections. And here we are. You got the border, the elections, transing, you got climate, you got the vaccine. All the cases were dismissed. None of the cases were heard. The courts abdicated authority back to the legislature who didn't do damn thing. And here we are. We have a degradation of civil society within the United States. We cannot survive this. We are breaking apart into factions, all because the courts are not hearing cases. And I went on too much about this, but that's what I'm spending my time in now. It's the law.
It's great. And I'd love to, do another one and talk about just that. But, we have all the signs of a failing republic, honestly. And I think it's conversations like this that need to be had. And on behalf of everyone looking for truth, thank you for all the work you're doing. Not a lot of people doing it out there. So someone's going to do it. I'm glad it's you.
Appreciate it, Brett.
No problem.
And, I think you're the youngest guy I've done a podcast with. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to get the attention of people like Patrick Bet-David, Tim Pool, the guys with the big microphones.
Yeah.
And I just can't get to them. It's not like I watch them. I'm like, yeah, this guy is boring that you have on here. I hope I'm not too boring. I know I got a lot of information to tell, and nobody else in the world has this stuff.
I think you're too real. That's the problem. That's literally the problem.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm probably going to say the wrong. I'll piss off everybody. People on both sides don't like me because I'm not like, it's not a religion to me.
Yeah.
I look at everything individually, and then I make my decision. And I'm going to bring you facts, even if it's contrary to what I want the facts to be.
Yep.
I'm still going to tell you the facts. But so people on both sides don't like me because I challenge both sides to bring truth. Like the MAGA people, I just wrote, I'm going to burn my hat. Trump was like, yeah, burning the American flag.
Yeah.
If it's dangerous and if it's this and if it's that, I don't care what the law says. He went on camera and said, you're not going to get 1 month. You're not going to get 10 years. You're going to get 1 year, and there's no exceptions. Like, you're going to put somebody in jail for a year for burning the American flag.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just burn the Constitution instead? That's what you're doing. And why every time he does a publicity stunt like that, it's distracting from something else. Like, oh, now he just signed something. We're going to let in 600,000 Chinese student visas. 600,000 people from China on student visas. Oh, because the education system might collapse if we don't let in the 600,000 Chinese. Good.
That'd be the best thing to happen. It needs to.
So everybody hates me.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. Really appreciate you.